Completed in 1866, the hospital here at Fort Union was the largest military hospital located within a 500-mile radius. Within its walls, surgeons were able to take care of anywhere from 36 to 120 patients at any one given time. In addition to soldiers, also civilians would be treated here for a variety of ailments, illnesses, and injuries. One of the very first people to die at the Fort Union Hospital was a soldier by the name of George Vaughn, who was a Civil War soldier who served in the 125th United States Colored Troops. Enlisting late into the war, in fact, a week after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, George Vaughn and his regiment really had nowhere to fight in his home state of Kentucky. So the entire regiment was transferred out here to New Mexico to serve out their tour service here. As they're moving through New Mexico, George and several other individuals fell ill, and they were placed here inside Fort Union, inside the hospital here at Fort Union, where he languished for well over 10 months until he eventually died on August 4th, 1866. What makes George Vaughn's story so intriguing is George was actually a runaway slave. Although he enlisted in April of 1865, his home state of Kentucky had not ratified the 13th Amendment, so technically he still was a slave. However, George was also married, and he had 2 children, and they too were slaves. And going through his military records, it was found very quickly as to the reason why George Vaughn, a runaway slave, would enlist and sacrifice his life all the way out here in New Mexico, far, far away from his family. According to the provisions of an act of Congress approved on the 3rd day of March, 1865, freeing the wives and children of colored soldiers, it is declared that Charlotte Vaughn, wife of George Vaughn, and his children are free and will be treated accordingly. Many lives were saved here at the Fort Union Hospital. Only a handful were ever lost. George Vaughn, one of the very first people to die in the hospital here at Fort Union, has the distinction of being not just one of the very last soldiers to die in the Civil War, but also to die a runaway slave who freed his family. He is one of 286 people that were buried at the cemetery here at Fort Union. And when the fort was abandoned in 1891, George and the other 285 people that were buried at the post cemetery were removed and reinterred at the cemetery in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. And that's where you'll find him, along with all the other fallen from Fort Union today.